Hi, I'm Christiana Barnes, and I'm Gracie Barnes' mom.
Hi, I'm Peyton Barnes, and I am type 1 diabetic.
I'm Angela Sauer, and I own Healthy Body Bakery.
When I first came in, actually my coworker had told me that there was keto goodies here, and we were looking for a healthy bakery that had goodies for ketos, for gluten-free, sugar-free, etc. And when I came in, I met you and was just kind of telling you a little bit about Gracie. You know, she's 11, she's type 1 diabetic, and you said, I have a wonderful, product called the brownie that is low glycemic, and if you would like to try it, kind of do a little bit of an experiment and see how it affects her sugar. So we did that. I took it home. We had her test her sugar prior to eating it. She ate it, and then afterwards we checked it, and there were no spikes at all for her sugar. So we were super excited. She really loved the brownie. She was extremely excited about finding something that she could eat that wouldn't spike her sugar, and she's like, I've got to meet this miracle worker. So
I want to ask you a question in a second, Gracie, but the reason why I was a food addict, and to control my food addiction, I found that if I didn't spike my blood sugar, I had self-control. Actually, the brownie was not my first treat I made for myself. It was carrot cake, and when I eat a piece of carrot cake, I could choose to eat half of it and eat the rest later, something I couldn't do in the past, like even today. And it's a little bit similar, a little bit different of what you have to deal with. Even today, I won't eat a Pop-Tart or a double stuffed Oreo because I want to keep going. Bad for a food addict, but that insulin, blood sugar spike is also bad for diabetics in general. But we're here because of you, because you have a special diabetes, is type 1 or type 2. Type 2, I understand people bring it on themselves a little bit more. It's not as genetic. It's poor eating.
Right.
But you, tell us about, you and your diagnosis and what you deal with.
Well, for type 1, it's a little bit harder, but it seems like it's easy for most people that have type 1. But for me, I think it's easy because you can, how do I say this? You can limit yourself on how you eat and what you eat. So, for example, if I wanted to eat some cake and it was, 84 carbs or above that level, I could limit how much I eat, and most people can't do that because they love cake, and I can limit myself with that, and I can dose how much insulin I have, which pretty much I think I'm healthier than most people.
So you're saying your condition actually gives you a discipline that you know, like with type 2 people, they sometimes go, no, I'll eat this, I won't eat this, but you just know because you can't. What happens if you ate 2 Pop-Tarts or?
If I ate 2 Pop-Tarts they're a lot of carbs, that's a lot of sugar, and to be honest, if my sugar was high or just normal, and I didn't correct myself with that with insulin, then my sugar would it would go really high, 544 or 568. That's the hospital point where you gotta go to the hospital, probably over 600. But if I were to correct myself with insulin, then I'm sure it'll keep that down where it's supposed to be.
So that's the dangerous, you said hospital point. So like with type 1 versus type 2, you have to be extra careful because the pancreas doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And so your levels can either bottom out or go high, which is dangerous.
Very.
Like for instance, tell me, because I thought it was interesting, and you're the reason we're here, and we're just getting ready to come over and talk a little bit, and you noticed your blood sugar was low. So next thing I know, this was coming out because you guys were having to do something the rest of us don't have to do. How did you feel? How did you know it was low?
Well, sometimes you can feel like if it's low, for say it was 68 or 54, that's under the level that you're supposed to be. I would say you feel you can't move and you feel like you can barely do anything. You can't you can't function as well
That would
as a
suck.
normal person can. So you would have to eat carbs to bring your sugar level up. Talking to other people about encouraging them about diabetes and type 1 and maybe type 2, but I'm sure that would be very, how do I say this? Well, I think that it would be very special for some people that understand what you're going through and you understand what they're going through. But sometimes other people that don't have diabetes, they can understand too, because they're doctors, there's nurses, and you can talk to them too to get them understanding what you're going through. So yeah.
Yeah, because kind of like, this is a weird angle, but like if someone was dealing with a sickness, let's just say alcoholism, your friend wouldn't offer you any kind of drink. You're not a very good friend if someone offers you a Twinkie, right? I mean, so
Right.
to educate them on how to help everybody be healthier.
Yes.
Tell me about that blog we had talked about before, or am I saying it right?
Yes, well, on Facebook we have Gracie's T1 Adventure.
Gracie's T1 Adventure.
Yes.
Okay.
We've started that with information about some of the stuff she's gone through since she was diagnosed. We have that blog, and then we also have it on Instagram as well. So Gracie's T1 Adventure. And then there are other additional websites that you can go to that have resources and links about information about the different types of diabetes. I wasn't even aware of all the types of diabetes until I actually researched.
Wow.
So it's not just type 1, type 2, there's others as well. So
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, most people don't, not until you start researching and looking at that. But there's Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation .org or jdrf.org, and then there's also spotthedot.org you can go to. So those are all great resources and wealth of information for people to go to.
How old are you, Gracie?
I am 11 years old.
11 years old. When was the diagnosis?
When she was 9.
When you were 9.
9.
Anybody else in the family?
My brother was diagnosed when he was 2.5, and he's in his 60s now. So yeah, on my side, of the family.
What's been a story that's been, I don't know if it's scary the right word, or concerning? What's been a story in the last 2 years that was like, your moment? Like
Yes. I
Not a big one.
remember,
Really? Wow.
I think on Halloween, that's when I was diagnosed. I always loved, like, Halloween was my most favorite of all the years, like months. And what was very weird was I was trick-or-treating. I went up to this one lady's door, and I was like, you know what? I gotta go use the restroom really badly. And I kept on doing that, using the restroom. And Mom was like, what's happening? And I'm like, I don't want to go trick-or-treating anymore, which is very rare for a kid to say at 9 years old.
Because that's one of the symptoms.
Yeah, and
Frequent urination, yeah.
yes,
And she was just tired too.
yes, very, very tired. Mom was like, there's something weird's going on. There's something just weird.
It was kind of overnight? Like,
Yes.
It was, yeah.
Yes, and so right after we went to the gas station, for me to go use the restroom, we went straight to the doctor, and the doctor said, you need to go to the ER right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was scary. I'm
Halloween
like,
night?
It wasn't Halloween, it was the next day
Wow.
that we went, and her sugar was 588. So
yeah,
really-
yeah. And I was like, what is happening? Am I gonna die? But not that brutal, but it scared me. Like, it really scared me. Why am I going through this?
yeah.
I thought I was a normal person. I never knew that this was going to happen. And from then on, right after I went to the ER, we got back home. I'm like, Dad, can I have some candy? And he's like, no, your sugars are they're out of order, and you were just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I'm like, this is so weird. A kid can't get candy. And that was just very scary for me. And a few days later, a few years when I was turning 10, we had plenty of birthday parties that I went to, and I couldn't have any sweets, like probably just one sweet and that's all. One little sweet or just one tiny piece of cake. And so pretty much for me, it was like when you go to the restroom, there's no toilet paper next to you, and you're like, I need some toilet paper, but nobody can't. They can't give you toilet paper.
So awesome.
It's just you're left out. It feels like you're left out. But after those few years, I got used to it, and now there's nothing wrong with limiting yourself.
Do you have any friends that are type 1 in your school, or that you hang out with at all? Or?
I do not have any that are type 1, but I do have some friends that really help me stand up for myself. They stand up for me, and they understand what I'm going through.
And they know like symptoms too to watch for Gracie
Yes.
with. Over this summer we did have a big scare. She had a seizure at camp because she went too low in the middle of the night. So that was a scary situation.
Yeah, I was
scenario.
blessed to survive that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a scary situation for diabetes, because if you go too low or too high, you can have a seizure and potentially not come out of it. So that's another scary situation. So that's why it's a blessing, like she was saying, for kids or anyone who's been diagnosed with diabetes to have options that they don't have to worry about their sugar going too high. It's a wonderful option to have that. So prior to Gracie being diagnosed, I noticed as a mom there were some changes that were happening. I was noticing that she was getting up more frequently throughout the night to go to the restroom, and I also noticed that she was asking for water or juice a whole lot more. So I noticed something was a little bit off about that, and knowing some family history and knowing enough about diabetes, I knew we needed to get to the doctor ASAP. And when we did, when we went to the doctor, she checked her sugar, and her sugar was 588, which is extremely high. Normal range falls somewhere between 60 and 110. So that was extremely high. So it was kind of a do not pass go straight to the ER right now. So also now with the frequent urination, if she drinks water and keeps her sugar levels in a normal range, it's not as bad now. And she was very lethargic, kind of foggy brained, and we've noticed that if she keeps her sugars in a normal range and eats healthier, then we don't deal with that as much. So also with the lows and the highs, you run the risk of seizures, and there's also a feeling of feeling shaky, not being able to think well. You may even feel like you can't walk right. So that's something I've noticed as a mom. I watch her. She knows that when she's got a low or a high, she feels a little bit off and awkward. So she goes and checks her sugar immediately. But if you have those feelings, if you're dizzy, you feel like you're off center or something's not right, you may want to go talk to your primary care physician. So if you think you or your child may potentially have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, some of the symptoms that you may experience would be frequent urination, extreme thirst, and extreme fatigue. So if you think that could be happening or what's going on, I would urge you to go see your primary care physician immediately. Right, Gracie?
Right.